Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Gooner Ramble of Arsenal Fan TV podcast. I'm your host Giles, and on this week's edition, we'll be resurrecting BBC Two's The Money Programme as we unmask the numbers behind Arsenal's worst kept secret. Yep, that's right, you've guessed it. Nicholas Bentner's £300,000 a week new contract, the captain's armband, and his final say in all the possible transfer market targets. We'll also cover the news on everyone's lips about the worst kept secret, which is the Puma deal. And then we'll carry on with the money theme, and we'll talk about the Deloitte money table results that came out last week, and we'll ask the question: have we progressed, regressed, or even stagnated compared to our European rivals? Finally, we'll go on to the ticket issues for the fifth round FA Cup game against Liverpool. You know, should the club pass on some sort of discount to the fans? You know, we've heard the Spirit of Shankly group come out and complain about the £62 ticket fees, and you know, the press have got on their backs, jumped on that wagon without actually highlighting the fact that the Black Scarf movement were the first people to request the review of those ticket prices for those cup games. And then quickly go over the tomorrow night's Southampton game, and then we'll finally touch on Mo's topic of choice, which is the Man United saga. So joining me on tonight's show, we've got the regulars, Mo Hader and Akil. How you doing, guys?
Not too bad, thank you.
Yeah, good, thank you.
And our special guest tonight is the Inside World Football and TalkSport regular, Matt Scott. How you doing, Matt? Thanks for joining us.
Pleasure, thank you, Giles.
Good stuff. All right, so let's crack on. As I was saying, today there was a media announcement about the Puma deal, which was everybody knew was going to happen. It's 5 years. £30 million a year, which is £150 million contract. It's the biggest historic deal in our club's history, and also it's the biggest deal in, I think, Puma sporting commercial history. So, you know, let's start with that. We'll start with you, Mo, because I know you did a piece on the Oguna Ramble website. What are your feelings?
Well, my feelings are that, you know, people have been quite happy about it. You know, Arsenal fans have received it really positively. But I think what I did was a comparative analysis to the Big Four, and I also chucked Tottenham in there and Man United in there as well. So kind of did a comparative analysis to them, and I think when you look at that, you realise that it's actually not as good as some people are claiming it to be. For me, it's a market rate deal. It's good. But the best thing about it isn't actually the amount. It's the fact that it's only a 5-year deal. That's the one saving grace, and that's what makes it a good deal. It's not a great deal, but it's a good deal for that reason. And the reason for that is it allows us to keep on top of the astronomical rate of inflation in football. If we were tied into a 10-year deal, which Chelsea are at 30 million a year, they will be losing out. In the last few years of that deal, they'll be looking at it thinking this is not good enough compared to our rivals, whilst we'll put ourselves in a better position.
Cool. All right. Matt, you're quite the money expert, so what's your feelings on today's announcement?
Well, I think it's a fabulous deal. I mean, I actually think it's been underreported. My understanding is it's closer to £34 million a year, particularly if the bonuses kick in. And we've had the CEO of Puma today say I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking about the champions. Personally, I think that's a bit optimistic, but still, you know, let's hope that he's right. But if that does happen, then it could be worth £34 million a year, is my understanding. And given that Arsenal have the richest shirt sponsorship, title sponsorship deal in all of the world of football, with the £30 million a year they're getting out of the Emirates, you know, you can't be sniffing at this. This is a shirt manufacturing deal that makes just a huge difference to Arsenal's income against what it's been in the past. It was about £6.5 million a year that Arsenal were getting out of Nike. 6.5 million. Now it's £30 million every year, probably 34, as I say. So the difference you're talking about is well in excess of 20 25 million quid, and that is a very, very important number because it pays for the wages of several players. And this is only one title sponsorship as well. You can think about all the other categories that they could now start signing. Liverpool today have yesterday announced that they have a Vauxhall sponsorship as their official car supplier. You know, Manchester United have been ploughing that territory for a very long time. They've got paint suppliers. They've got an official outboard motor supplier.
They've got Mr. Potato on their books.
Exactly. They've got a snack supplier. All sorts of different, category sponsors. And that's the area that Arsenal are now going to approach. But the best thing is that they've dealt with the big one. And they've dealt with it very, very well. This is no secret, as you say. We've known about this this deal's been in place for about a year. But Puma have had to pay a lot of money to fight off interest from Adidas, for instance. They wanted this Arsenal property. Nike, not too bothered, weren't really in the market for it because they pay such a huge amount of money for Manchester United, and United are going to want even more for the next one. But what Arsenal have done is go out and get they're not even the second biggest property, Puma, in the world of football. They're the third, if that. And they've got a vast amount of money out of them, and I think that they have to be applauded for doing that.
Matt, I accept they are number 3, and I think it's good that maybe there's a contrast of opinions here. You think it's a fabulous deal, and I'm somewhat underwhelmed by it. In my original piece that I wrote in November on this, which I've actually refreshed, and I hope to be sharing again in the coming days, or maybe even today actually. But in that piece, I did say that there is a big difference between 30 and 34 million. We're talking about upwards of a 10% difference there. And if it is a 34 million one, then then I would say it is a very good deal. At 30 million, I think it's market rate. It's fine. But, when you look at teams such as Liverpool with Under Armour, who have struck a 25 million a year deal, and I think it's for 6 years. I personally think, given Arsenal's appearances in the Champions League and, consistent top 4 and, our history and our achievements and our global presence, I think we should be ahead of Liverpool by a bigger margin than just the 5 million.
But Arsenal have won nothing for 9 years, and that really does count. Honestly, it really counts. You talk about the Chelsea deal for £30 million. Look at what they've won in the period since Arsenal won anything, since 2005. 9 years of 8 completed seasons of nothing, versus Chelsea winning a European Cup, winning a double, however many titles they've won. Back-to-back titles that they had, another European Cup final, everything that they've achieved in that period.
But my counter-argument,
at least to match that, and I think probably exceed it.
Sure, but then my counter-argument would be is that you referenced the original Knight deal that we had, about $6.5 million a year, but that's when we were winning things. So, isn't it?
That's not like for like. The $6.5 million that they got in the initial deal, that was because they forward sold it for 8 years at the market rate that was at the time of $6.5 million. They needed to deliver the stadium. They needed that cash up front, and Nike paid a vast sum of money comparatively up front, so that Arsenal had that as collateral upon which to borrow money for the stadium. So Arsenal suffered from an underinvestment from commercial suppliers for the last 8 years, and you can directly correlate the failure of Arsenal on the pitch. I don't think that's a problem. I think we can say that. Nearly a decade of nothing is almost unprecedented in Arsenal's history. It's only happened 2 or 3 times before. Yeah. That failure on the pitch is directly correlated with the underinvestment from commercial suppliers, and now we are looking at that at what I believe to be a floodgate opening. Arsenal will now properly compete with, they've had the 4th biggest commercial income from the Premier League for a pretty considerable time now, particularly since Manchester City came onto the scene, and this is going to be transformative.
Okay, but you compared the Puma deal to a Nike deal and said it's a big uplift and it's a massive improvement. But I don't take that as a positive, because I don't think that underperformance in the past should lead to compliments today. We should criticise the underperformance of that original deal, because I think we did tie ourselves into something for too long. I understand that we needed that working capital in the business in the organisation, in the club, to support the new stadium and player investment at the same time. But I think we got the balance completely wrong, and we suffered as a result of that. So I'm not looking at that original Nike deal, looking at the Puma deal and saying, oh, actually it's really good. I'm looking at our rivals and I'm saying that 5 million above Liverpool, level to Chelsea, I just don't think it's good enough, to be honest with you. It's fine. When I did my analysis, I gave it a 7 out of 10. And I said if it was up to 34 million, then it's an 8 out of 10. But when the details of United's renegotiation with Nike get released, then I think we'll see exactly what a commercial juggernaut is, and it will put our deal into perspective.
There can only ever be one mark. There's always going to be one preeminent property in any market. And Arsenal aren't that. I mean, we're the best one in the world. You know, if this was 1933, we would be. Or 1938, we would be. But this is 2016, and we're not.
Yeah, I don't expect to be better than them. I don't expect to be even getting level to United. But the differential between Man U and Arsenal, I find that unacceptable. I don't know if you know what it is, but have a guess what they're negotiating compared to what we've negotiated, and look at the percentage difference.
Well,
it's double.
Frankly, that's not the point, though, is it? I mean, look at what they've achieved in the time that Arsenal haven't won the title. You know, if you're talking about a trophy cabinet that is bloated versus a trophy cabinet that has nothing. So, you know, I don't feel that there's, you know, personally, I don't think we can criticise the board for what it has achieved, which is delivering world-class returns. You know, the Emirates deal that they got is the biggest title sponsorship in the world of football. That is a tremendous achievement for a club that hasn't won anything for the best part of a decade. This deal is, you know, I believe it to be worth £34 million. That is a staggering sum of money for a club that has, and I hate saying this, but it's a fact, a club that's won nothing for too long. And, you know, rather than criticise what they have achieved, wait a little while and see what is coming down the road. When they've got those other sponsorships, the global value of Arsenal's commercial deals is really going to start matching and exceeding what they're getting from the match day deals, which is the second most in all of the Premier League after Manchester United. But all brands in the world, and this is a fact, every single brand, whether it be, you know, like I say, an outboard motor or a credit card supplier or an insurance giant like Aon, everybody wants to be associated with the best in class, and that comes with an enormous premium. So don't compare Arsenal with Manchester United. That's not a fair comparison at all for the board, particularly after the on-pitch performance that Arsenal's had relative to United. Compare Arsenal and the revenues that they're getting for the commercial returns with something like Chelsea, something like Liverpool, like you say, something like Tottenham. You know, these are clubs who have had similar success or better success than Arsenal in the past 10 years. Cool. And Arsenal now have exceeded them financially, and I think that is a great credit to them.
Okay, I want to bring in Akhil. Akhil, have you got something to another angle to highlight on this?
Yeah,
subject?
Well, I'm still here. Firstly, I just thought I'd let my own Matt speak there. It's interesting actually because we, as all the supporters clubs, seem to get invited over Christmas to meet sort of Ivan Gazidis and a few of the other board members, and I think it was not this Christmas but the Christmas before that, where we sort of went in and we were talking about the deals and in sort of talking about Manchester United as well, and Ivan was pretty honest with us, and he thought we were about 6 or 7 years behind Manchester United, and he hinted that our next sort of shirt deal was going to be the biggest, but Man United I think negotiate theirs a year after, so later on this year or next year. So I think it was that was sort of we knew that the Man United deal would be huge. We knew the Emirates deals were there to fund the stadium, so we sort of know where we were. I mean, Manchester United are the fourth probably richest club in the world, behind the two Spanish and Bayern Munich. So we expect them to be up there. But I would certainly say I'm pleased with the deals today. I mean, the bit that pleased me was when when Ivan Gazidis sort of said that money will be there available to spend in the squad, into squads. I mean, with all the win in the world, it's great to have all these great deals, but if we're not going to buy better footballers and pay footballers better money, then what's the point, sort of thing. So that's the bit I look forward to. I think it's the highest deal at the moment until Man United negotiate. So it's for me it's a positive. I mean, I think Matt talks about this only being one deal, and I think he talks about Liverpool with the sort of car giant and stuff. And I think Liverpool have also released a training kit deal with their airline, with an Indonesian airline, I think, for about 2 years. They announced that either today or it might be yesterday. So I think there are other deals that Arsenal are working on, and it certainly seems like the board are working on the commercial side quite a bit. So I certainly think it's a positive.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, Mo, you want to come back in?
Sure, yeah. I mean, the first thing I'll say is, Akil, you made a brilliant point there in terms of we talk about these deals, but then we always forget to contextualise them and talk about the reason why they're important, and that is so there's funds available to get us trophies. So the fact that you mentioned today you were happy to hear that this is going to go to the playing squad, that is absolutely key, and that's the basis of my concern on this issue. But in response to what Matt said about Man United and that it's an unfair comparison, I disagree with that, to be honest with you. I'm under no false illusions that they are a different machine to us. They're much bigger and they've got a much bigger commercial global presence than we have. But, I think it, I hate to say it, but I think it stinks of a bit of a lack of ambition if we're not aiming to get to their level and to better them. I realise that now we are different.
Yeah, sorry, it's just what Ivan Gazidis said that Christmas was that we're probably 6 or 7 years behind Manchester United. Maybe we're a little bit slow to get going, but he did say that over years we can overtake, but it takes time. You can't suddenly go from, 7th in the league every season to champions. It just doesn't work unless you have sort of Qatar or sheikhs or Russians backing you. But I mean that's the thing. I think our board actually are ambitious, and if you asked me 2 years ago, I probably wouldn't have said so. But I think over the last couple of years, I've certainly seen a change in this football club. I mean, the signing of Mesut Ozil alone shows ambition. So I think I mean, I agree with you, Mo. Ambition. We want to show ambition, but that is going to take several years. That doesn't happen overnight.
I appreciate that, but what I find very strange is that people they're very forgiving about the fact that we're behind them and we're 6 or 7 years behind them. But why are we 6 or 7 years behind? Even Gazidis has been in the role for 5 years now, and what's he done? In every area, I think the gap between Arsenal and Man United is too much in terms of off the pitch. If you look at the shirt sponsorship deal, we're 30 to 34. That was in my analysis that I wrote a few months ago, and from what I believe, 34 million, it will only get to that if we meet certain targets. With Man United, from what I understand, it's widely reported to be 60 million. They should not be doubling our shirt deal. I think that gap is too much.
Let Mo finish.
Also, in terms of commercial partners that the club have, Arsenal about a week ago signed one with a smartphone company in China. I can't pronounce the name.
Hawaii?
Something like that. Hawaii.
Pronounce Hawaii?
Look, in any case, I mean, they did that deal, and that put us up to 16 commercial partners with Arsenal. If you compare that to Man U, Chelsea, Liverpool, and Man City, we're behind every single one of them in terms of commercial partners. Man United have got 31. Up to 10 days ago, we had 15. They had more than double. Now we've got 16. But I don't think that's acceptable. Why aren't we extracting the value out of our brand? I know we're not going to match them. I know we're certainly not going to beat them. But the gap for me is unacceptable. And in the 5 years that even Gazidis has been in the role, he hasn't shown me progression. He hasn't taken our club to a higher level. And that is what I find unacceptable.
Okay, Matt, you want to respond to that?
Saying that actually, you're not comparing like Manchester United are such a juggernaut. I think that's a great phrase you've used. that they are able to extract more than 10-15 million pounds a year out of a supplier that is going to be the training kit sponsor. They're going to sponsor Carrington Training. We've got the Emirates, which pays us not very much actually. That naming rights deal. They've got a naming rights deal for their training ground that nobody ever sees or ever writes about. And yet, that's worth more than £10 million a year to Manchester United. So the shirt sponsorship that you're talking about, the Chevrolet deal that's coming in, the guy who signed that deal has been given the sack. Actually the day after he signed it, the first director, the sponsorship director at Chevrolet, was given his cards by GM. They didn't want him in the building anymore because they recognised that he completely overpaid for the property. You can't criticise Arsenal for not matching Manchester United when Manchester United are getting such preposterous sums for properties that are in any case better than Arsenal's. They're not market rates that Manchester United are achieving. They're way beyond market rates, even for the preeminent brand in English football, which is exactly what they are. Also, Arsenal have not been able to set their prices according to what they would want them to be because the other sponsorship properties were, like I say, the most valuable property is the shirt sponsorship. It was worth £6.5 million a year to Arsenal. So that gives the bloke at the other side of the table a very low ball entry point. He says, okay, so what am I getting for my money? When I put £3 million on the table for this, you're saying that I'm going to be a crisp packet supplier in Vietnam. Well, I'm not going to pay you £3 million for that because the guy who's paying for your shirt sponsorship is paying £6.5 million, and that's worth much more to them than $3 million is to me. So I don't see how anybody can criticise the way that Arsenal are going about this. Honestly, I'm a hard taskmaster about Arsenal at times, but on this one, I just don't see any merit or grounds upon which to be critical. I think they've done an incredibly good job here.
Well, let me ask you a question, Matt, if you don't mind. Whose fault is it that we were getting $6.5 million for Nike, where a crisp supplier would say, I'm not giving you $3 million because you're only getting $6.5 million for that? It's not Man United's fault.
Well, it's not much fault that Arsenal only gets $6.5 million. Those are the circumstances that provide. No.
I think that was quite a good deal at the time. Did you say, Matt? At the time, it came in.
Charles, in 2006, that was the market rate for a shirt sponsorship. Manchester United were getting that, and that was when that was signed. And yes, Arsenal were a very, very successful team. It was only 2 years after the Invincible season. They won an FA Cup the previous year. That was a very successful, but that was the top of the market rate. £6.5 million was very good, but it was forward sold for 8 years because the circumstances that were prevailing at the time required that. They needed cash up front. And if anybody in any commercial environment, they will tell you that if you buy something up front, you pay a huge amount of cash right up front. It is massively discounted. In any business deal, you want to buy in bulk up front, you pay less for it. I mean, that's business because the cash is more valuable to the supplier. So with Arsenal, what they achieved with that cash was to build the Emirates Stadium, and nobody can complain about that being a good strategic move at the time. Unfortunately, the way it has affected Arsenal with the likes of Chelsea coming on board with the money they have, with the likes of Manchester City coming on board with the money they have, the market has moved way ahead of them. And at the time, matchday revenues were the principal revenue for any football club, principal revenue stream. Since then, broadcasting and massively overtaken matchday, but nobody could tell in the Arsenal boardroom. You can't complain about Danny Fisman and Keith Edmund for doing that deal when they did, because at the time it was wrecked, and they got the property development windfall out of it as well. So every end up, what they did was right at the time.
The property development was brilliant. That's one thing that was innovative. It was out of the box. It was great. In terms of the Nike deal, we didn't get the balance right.
But it was facilitated by the Emirates Stadium deal.
Of course.
It was facilitated by the selling of the sponsorship properties. Nobody can be critical. I mean, honestly, no, I think you're being really harsh. But sure, have a go ask Wenger for not coaching the players properly until Steve Bold came along. I would agree with you there, but on this one, I can't.
I don't put much fault at Arsene Wenger, to be honest with you. I think he's overachieved. With the squad that we had at times to get fourth place, I think he's overachieved. I think our commercial department has underachieved. The only thing that has actually filled me with joy or happiness commercially or on a business level is our property deals. Apart from that, I think we got the balance wrong on the night deal. Even though we had to do it, I think we got the balance wrong. There was a better balance to be struck. And now I think we've hit what we expected to hit. If we were any less than 30 million or 34 million, between that range, I don't think it would have been good enough. I just think it's a market rate deal, and our commercial partners that we have compared to our rivals, I think that tells its own story. Less than Liverpool, less than City, less than Chelsea. You're saying don't compare to United, but why are we less than Liverpool?
There is one key difference. There is one key difference between all those clubs and the club and our club that we're talking about now. The ones you've just mentioned all have gone on overseas tours for a very long time.
We should have done it before. Whose fault is that?
Yeah,
but Wenger had to be persuaded.
Wenger was the one who refused to. Wenger took them to Austria every season. That has caused other difficulties and more discounts and zero premium for the club. So, now that's changed as well. Arsenal are going to achieve a lot more financially. And when you are comparing like for like, which you will be from now on, I think it would be reasonable to be critical, but until now, I don't think that would be fair.
I just feel our problems are self-inflicted. That is my issue with it.
Okay.
I just hope the Puma CEO is right, and he is going to be sponsoring the champions.
Exactly. I just want to say that if I could just come in quickly, I just want to say I've listened to everybody's arguments and whatnot, and I've said from the outset that I think the uplift from 6 million to what it is now, 30 or 34 million, is an excellent uplift. You don't really get those figures too often coming up, in new deals like this. But also I like is the fact that it's a medium-term deal. It's a 5-year deal. So by the time the other clubs are brokered their new deals, we see them getting 40, 50, or whatever, 60 million. By the time our 5-year deal comes to its end, we can then renegotiate, hopefully on the back of on-field success, we can renegotiate the deal or go to somebody else with a better brand, because that's what happens when you're a successful club. You can then renegotiate or go to or call the shots in these kind of negotiations and get your 40, 50, 60 millions a year. That's what I believe. I want to move on. I want to move on to the Deloitte money table, because it kind of actually goes hand in hand with what we've been talking about. I think, looking at what they reported last week, definitely the match day revenue side of things were up there. I don't think we can, like they said, I don't think we can really eke out much more out of that cow. But definitely, as you guys were saying, as Mo's always pointed out, we need to increase our commercial side. Man United have 80 people in their market. Is that right, Mo? They've got 80 people working in their marketing department. We've only got
something ridiculous like that.
Ridiculous. Yeah, they're like I said, they're a juggernaut. They've been off. So even if we're not comparing like we've definitely got room for improvement. I mean, Matt, do you see us increasing our commercial partners going forward? I mean, we've signed a deal with the HUAWEI company.
Huawei, yeah.
Huawei, yeah.
Yeah, which is what they've been saying to us for a long time. When we go and ask them for money, they say Huawei. No, look, yes, of course. The answer to that is, of course, they're going to be making a heck of a lot of money out of the commercial, because that is, the advantage they have over a lot of other clubs, certainly overseas, is that this is a premium brand. Arsenal can, and I think Gazidis has been on the record about this. He was when Emirates signed their naming rights and new shirt title sponsorship deal. He said then that we want to be competing with Bayern Munich, and it's a very interesting comment that, in as much as Adidas are a stakeholder and shareholder in Bayern Munich, and they pay an enormous premium over what any other club does for the shirts that they do with Manchester United, with Bayern Munich. There's a bit of dollar swapping from Adidas' point of view. Germany has always got very good commercial income, and it's given a lot of that money back, and I think that we should be talking about that a bit later on, given a lot of that money back in the matchday revenues where they don't extract so much out of the fans. But I think Arsenal, there will always be room for Arsenal to improve a very low base. At the moment, they've not gone to market for those other sponsors, suppliers on the second tier, third tier, particularly heavily at all. And the reason being they wanted to drill down this high value, high end, setting the bar very high, title and shirt kit manufacturer sponsorships, because once they can do that, everybody now looks at them and it benchmarks Arsenal as a very high value club, right up there alongside Chelsea, Manchester City and all the others. And if they are leading the league at the same time, if they finish, get beyond the second round of the Champions League perhaps this season, go further on the pitch, then that can only add value to the premium proposition that they're offering their brand suppliers.
Okay. Can I ask you, looking at the table, the revenue table for last year, we've dropped down from 6th to 8th. Admittedly, the teams that have actually overtaken us are Paris Saint-Germain and Man City, and obviously they've come in with their Arab money. Is it concerning that we've dropped down the table? I see that Juventus are about 10 or 12 million behind us in terms of revenue. Is it concerning?
No.
Are we going to slip down any further?
No.
Or are we going to?
No. Well, if Arsenal finish champions, then they're going to be second in that table versus the other English clubs, and all the English clubs are going to be moving up that table very fast. And the reason being this new TV deal they've got. If Arsenal win the Premier League this season, they won't be getting 40 million, 35 million pounds out of the Premier League that they have done in the past. They'll be getting 100 million pounds. So you add that to the extra 60 million that they've got out of the commercial, virtually from these two new deals, or it's about 50 million upside. You add that 50 million to that, you're talking about 100 million pounds a year more. This is the low watermark. This 284.3 million pounds of revenue in 2012-13 that puts Arsenal 8th in the world of clubs for earnings. That is the low watermark. From here, you can see Arsenal going a lot higher. They won't be propelled by the related party investment sponsorship that Paris Saint-Germain have enjoyed and that Manchester City have enjoyed, but they will be getting money from external sources, and it will push them, by 2014-15, it will push them very much higher up that table, probably to fourth, perhaps even third.
Okay, Mo, do you want to speak on this?
Yeah, sure. What I would say is, when you look at Arsenal's split in terms of how we generate our revenue, it's very, very clear again that the commercial is seriously lagging. Again, just a comparison, Liverpool, they get 56% more from commercial revenue than we do in terms of the makeup. We're on 72, they're on about 114. Again, for me, that just really drives that point home that there's a lot more that we can do in terms of our commercial. But the point about the Champions League money is a huge one. BT Sport have paid through the nose for the rights. And, for me, as someone who's not Man United's biggest fan, to put it politely, I think the timing of their demise could be absolutely catastrophic for them. It's not the coming one, but the Champions League season after this one, the upcoming one, is going to be absolutely huge. I think just for getting through the group stage, or just the group stage, will give you as much money as the winners get now. It will be huge, and we will see a massive uplift in our in our revenue as a result of that. But all other Champions League teams will also see that. So it will depend on how you do in the Champions League. But the prize is much bigger. I just think it's absolutely crucial, though, that we really step up in commercial efforts. It's clear to me when I look at how when I look at Arsenal's revenue profile and how we generate our revenue, that the fans have been subsidising the lack of commercial success. Whilst in other clubs, if we take Borussia Dortmund, for example, they take hardly anything in terms of matchday income, but their commercial side of things is far greater than ours. And, no surprise that they're happier fans, or, there's less annoyance with their fans. Just to quantify it, their matchday income is 59.6 in terms of the contribution to their total revenue, 59.6 million euros, and Arsenal's is 108.3. So we're double them there. But
sorry, I'm really at risk of repeating myself here, Mo, but we've come to the end of an 8-year cycle for the pre-sold sponsorship. So what you're looking at, those numbers you're looking at, are at a time when Arsenal were in a straitjacket deal. They had the handcuffs.
But I'm just all I'm doing is just highlighting Dortmund's commercial prowess compared to ours, and it's not just limited to a shirt sponsorship deal, because we're saying that ours is
perhaps explain myself.
72.8. Dortmund is 109 million. Aside from the shirt deal, there are other ones to go about getting, and I don't think we've been successful in doing that.
Well,
whilst other clubs have been a hell of a lot more.
Sorry, I'll just repeat it then. I will repeat it then, because I think it does bear the comment. The fact is that all of the other sponsorship values hang off the value of your premium product. That's the way the model works. If somebody is selling something for £6.5 million for the title sponsorship, the most valuable property that they've got, the shirt sponsorship, if the kit manufacturing deal is £8 million a year, any other sponsorship negotiation has that as its beginning. If that's being undersold, which it was necessarily at the time that it was struck, if that's being undersold, then all the other stuff is undervalued. Imagine being the sponsorship director for, let's say, Ford, and you were interested in becoming Arsenal's official car supplier, Mo, and you went to Arsenal and you said, this is what I would like to sign with you as an official car supplier for motor supplier worldwide for Arsenal. How much is that worth? Arsenal come back to you and they say, we want £7 million a year for that. You can have Arsenal in the Champions League every week, top of the Premier League, etc., etc. That's what you will be getting. You say, well, you haven't won anything for 9 years. And they say, well, that's the deal. We intend to win things in future. So you go back to your bosses and you say they want £7 million a year to be their official car supplier. Your boss is going to say to you, okay, what was the value of their shirt sponsorship then? Oh, 6.5. So what? I'm paying more for that than I will be for the other. It doesn't work like that, Mo. And that's why, you just can't have a negotiation on those grounds. They had to deal with this first, and they could not deal with this until now. So I think you're being really harsh on the board and the commercial team to be critical about it in 2012-13.
But you've mentioned that we were in a position where we had to kind of do that night deal, and we shouldn't be kind of criticised for it because we had to do it. So if it's that obvious, if it's that logical, then when someone comes to the table and you're negotiating a communications deal for smartphones, then you say to them, well, we're in a different position now. At that point, we were trying to pay for a huge building that we're making, and now it's changed. We're in a better position. You're going to have to pay more for it, and that. If you're giving that as an explanation as to why it was a fair enough deal, then it's also an explanation as to why the goalposts have moved and that you won't be paying 10% of the value of our shirt deal. Times change, there's reasons for everything, and in context, if I can just finish that. In context, sorry Matt, if I can just finish. In context, one thing makes sense, whilst another company, if they come at a different time, they can't then expect to be treated with the same context, because times change, positions change, and that's a one-in-a-lifetime event, that stadium building. So, of course, sacrifices will be made. Though I don't think we've got the balance right, that then doesn't have to haunt us and live with us for every other single negotiation that we do. You're talking about a top-down approach. We can also push a bottom-up approach, where we can say...
No, because if they could, they would have. I'm talking about commercial realities, mate. That's all. I'm just talking about commercial realities. I'm telling you the way it's been for that commercial team. And they have done what they can. It's not about airy-fairy explanations. It's about people putting millions of pounds on the table. And they haven't done it. Why?
Because of our own
self-inflicted.
The thing is, I'd like to say, if I could, although I see both points of view, I kind of do see Mo's point of view in that how are you or who are you have come in. I don't know how long this negotiation has been in place for, but, you know, Gazidis, let's say he's had 2 years on the job, you know, trying to tie up new deals. He's had these people, these Koreans or Chinese coming. He could have maybe extracted a bit more money out of them. But you know, he would have known that we're getting a new TV deal money. We're getting the Puma deals coming in. I think for the phone deal, it's okay as a secondary, tertiary sponsor, but it could have been a bit more. That's my personal opinion. So I do kind of agree with Mo on that. But going forward, it doesn't mean, I mean, like what Matt says, I expect going forward that we will see the value of what the Gazidis and the team are doing in terms of the deals that we will be signing going forward in the future. That's all I want to say. Axe, do you want to add to that?
No, I think I'll stay out of this one, to be honest.
I think we've probably bored everyone to death with all of this chat.
All right. So any concluding speeches about this subject before we move on?
No.
Yeah, I think we need to call it a day because I think people will be getting bored. I think one thing that we can all agree on is hopefully this is a watershed moment and it will push us on to bigger and better things.
I think so.
You know, I hope that we don't have to have this argument in future because we're all just thrilled to bits with how much money's pouring in the club and the fans don't suffer as a result. I hope we don't have to subsidise, a lack of achievement in any other area. So, you know, hopefully it's a watershed moment.
Cool. All right, so moving on to the ticket pricing. Spirit of Shankly movement have written a letter to Arsenal and they've made it public saying that, you know, why the hell are you charging us Cat A prices for the FA Cup game? They're apparently having to pay between £62 and £93 for the privilege of seeing their team at the Emirates. Contrary to, obviously, like I say, the press have gotten hold of it and have run with it, and you know, they're praising Spirit of Shankly for writing the letter. But what they've not done is actually highlighted the fact that Black Scarf Movement actually made a request to the club before Spirit of Shankly wrote the letter asking them to review the situation. You know, it's not good. You know, other teams have complained in the past. I think Man City, they gave away, I think they didn't take up 900 allocation and when they...
I think they had 3,000 and 900 turned up, if I remember.
That's right, yeah. So, you know, it's a bug. It's a bugbear. Obviously, you know, Arsenal Football Club are not being shown in a good light. Axe, I'm going to start with you. What do you think about this whole thing?
Yeah, well, this goes back to earlier in the season, or it could have even been last season when Liverpool came, because Liverpool, the Spirit of Shankly, spoke to, I think, various fans group. I mean, being a member of the Arsenal Supporters Trust, I sort of was in on it, and they did approach us and sort of try and get together about ticket prices in general. So it wasn't just at Arsenal. It wasn't meant to be just for Arsenal. It was meant to be like everywhere. And like, you know, I remember paying 55 quid to go to QPR, and I had a sort of restricted view seating, couldn't really see much. I don't think I was even facing the pitch. I mean, and that's the day I realised that football has gone mad. I think when it's your own club, sometimes you're a little bit blind to it. But I mean, I certainly think obviously it's a good thing. I think it's for us, it's obviously because this potentially is the 8th game of our season ticket, so then the costing has to come out. I think last year Arsenal made the small mistake of saying that FA Cup games will be a Category B game, so it sort of, you know, if we had a Liverpool or a Tottenham, we didn't have to pay top dollar, whereas this season we have. And obviously having already one Category A game in the FA Cup, that means effectively silver members, red members have had to pay top dollar for an extra game, and now they're going to have to do it again. So I think it's obviously for the Liverpool fan, it's an expensive day. I mean, to sort of travel up. I mean, I go to away games. I know what transport's like, and it's certainly not cheap. So you know, I am with them there. So it would be nice if Arsenal, you know, as sort of a goodwill, as a, you know, would do something, witness fixture, it would be, because I mean, if we had got, Fulham in the next round, or Sheffield United, I think, say if Sheffield United beat Fulham and we got them at home, that would have probably been a Category C game. So, we've got a top club, we're going to be on TV, so there's going to be revenue streams coming that way. So I think it would be nice for travelling fans, for the home fans, for every fan, if Arsenal put this as a Category B game.
Right, Mo.
Yeah, and the whole FA Cup categorisation in terms of A, B, or C of games is really very simple. You look at the Premier League categorisations and they'll stick with them, they'll match them. And, the hoo-ha that came up about Tottenham in the FA Cup being in Category A, I don't know why anyone expected it to be different. I think, as Akil has pointed out, it would be a great gesture of goodwill. It would be very, very nice of the club if they do make it Category B. But I think we have to remember that, if this is a Premier League game, it would be Category A. And it would just be a great gesture by the club. Do I think the club should do it? Of course I do. I'm a fan myself. I'm going to be paying out of my pocket. And it's a horrible thought that people are unable to afford to go and support their team. But football, in so many areas, it doesn't follow the logic of the world. If one of us tomorrow leaves our job and goes to a rival company in whatever industry we're in, then it's absolutely fine. But if a footballer does it, then we all hit the roof, and I'm guilty of that as well. But it's one of them strange ones where, we follow football out of our own choice, and then we complain that the club is making us pay an X amount to support our team. But really, it's our own choice. It's not that I'm defending the ticket prices, they are extortionate, and it would be nice if football could be a working class game and everyone could afford to go and support their club. But, it's really not the world we live in. I just think we have to manage our expectations. I don't think we should expect the club to make it a Category B game and then get pissed off if they don't make it a Category B game. It would just be a very nice gesture, and it's something that we maybe have to look at and say, if you can't afford it, if you can't justify it, then as horrible as it sounds,
sit this one out.
Yeah, then sit it out, sort of thing.
Okay.
Why Stan Kroenke is in it for business. He's in it for an investment. Why is he going to do you a favour? This is why I want Usmanov in the club, because as a fan, I could expect him to do the fans a favour. We're expecting something unrealistic of Kroenke.
I think, I mean, obviously, I get you. It is a business. Sadly, football now is a business. But I mean, fans do make a football club as well. I mean, I know, our season ticket waiting list is probably about 20,000 on there, but it had a lot more about 3 years ago. So, I fully appreciate that. I think it's just, the game. I mean, our away support is absolutely brilliant. I think our sort of away support is one of the best in the country, and in that time, I mean, I'll speak personally, I mean, paying to go to Munich away, paying for Chelsea, Tottenham away, everything adds up, and I mean, I don't think it's necessarily about affording. I just think it's about, football fans are loyal. I mean, football fans are probably the only thing loyal in football, so they'll always pay. I mean, unless they're sort of homeless, not literally, but you know what I mean. They'll always pay. So I think, sometimes I think being the 8th game of the season ticket, I think that's the goodwill gesture. About categorisation for the games, I think, Mo, you've got it a little bit wrong there, because last year, Swansea, we went to Swansea in the FA Cup, we drew to them. We came back to the Emirates. The league game against Swansea was a Category C game. The FA Cup game was a Category B game. So that bit about sort of, it's an A in the league, it's an A in the thing, fine. But the Swansea game was a C in the league and a B in the cup. So things have changed this season. That's when Arsenal made a blunder, and maybe this could be their way to rectify it. And that's
a joke, Akil. That's a joke. If they did that, I can't remember that far back, to be honest with you, but I think that is an absolute mistake, and that I would agree with that they shouldn't be doing. But this season, thankfully, they haven't done any of that.
Okay, Matt.
Well, I think the way that football clubs ask their fans to go to the well is not, I don't think it's particularly justifiable. Certainly going forward, I mean, we've had the biggest and deepest recession, if not depression, since the 1930s, and we're not out the other side yet, and yet football continues to ask its consumers to pay more and more money every single year, whether that be through ticket prices, as we're talking about now, or the subscriptions that we pay for TV, pay TV to watch our football on the telly, or whatever it may be, publicans paying for their feeds into landlords paying for their feeds into pubs. There is only so much money that the UK consumer can put forward, and yes, at the moment he's putting an enormous amount of it towards his disposable spend of football grounds, and I don't know how much longer that can last. With utility bills going up, we've all got to heat and light our houses. With food bills going up, we've all got to eat. With rent going up, mortgage costs going up, house prices going up, everything going up. We're watching an enormous amount of inflation. And I think the football clubs have got to be very, very careful that they don't start slitting the stomach of the goose that lays the golden egg. Because if they do that and they want more eggs in one hit, then they will kill the goose.
And also, Matt, I mean, you had a season ticket at Highbury too. I mean, even the first couple of years at the Emirates, I mean, how many people shared season tickets? For me, it was unknown. It's only in the last 2 or 3 years that's become quite a big thing. People share because they can't afford a whole season ticket. And that's not because, they may, because of, as you say, mortgages, bills, you might get married, etc., going up. Some people have to move out of London because it's just too expensive. So I think it's happening more and more that people are sharing tickets, and that's not because they don't want to come. They want to come, but they just can't afford it, or they can't justify it. Maybe it's a better word. They just can't justify it. And I mean, 5-6 years ago, that was never going to happen. That no one shared season tickets then. Well, maybe some did, but not many.
That was before the financial crisis. When that struck, it touched the goalpost completely. And I think the football clubs have been insulated. We've had a bubble in football. The asset bubble in football is just as big as any house price bubble that we've got going on, if not bigger. But as that continues to bite and the consumer has to pay more and more money, I do worry for football's revenue model.
I just want to say, I saw the BBC Sports piece about this, and obviously the Spirit of Shankly Group are complaining about the prices they paid in November. Very small addition at the end of that piece said an Arsenal spokesman told the BBC Sport the 5th round FA Cup clash between the two sides will almost certainly be classed as a category or category B with the lowest potential ticket price of £35. They added that they hope to decide the ticket prices by the end of the month, while confirmation to kick-off times and the way supporters allocation would follow soon after. So, is there a chance that they may review it and say, okay, we obviously they're not going to give them the same price as for Coventry City. I think that Coventry City paid £25 or £26, but £35 certainly sounds a lot better than the 60. Do you think that could be the outcome of this, Matt?
Well, obviously, there's always a chance. I mean, one thing that's important to point out is that you are not allowed under any under the Premier League rules, and I know this isn't the competition we're talking about, but under Premier League rules, you're not allowed to charge away fans more than you do home fans. So that's a point to think about, is that if for every pound that Liverpool are spending on their tickets to come to watch Arsenal fans are paying it 18, 19 times a season more, So there is that consideration. Also, there is a degree of revenue sharing in the FA Cup competition. So Liverpool fans could perhaps feel compensated by the fact that some of that money goes back to their own club. I think it's 15%. So, there is it's not just Arsenal rinsing them if this is what's happening. And if it is Arsenal rinsing them, then they're rinsing their own fans too.
Matt, just on that, I mean, wasn't there something when Newcastle struck a deal with a few clubs that they would charge the same? I mean, with West Brom they charged 15, and it was Swansea perhaps they charged 20.
Yeah.
So then
£20.
But what were home fans charged then?
At the same price.
Oh, so the ticket.
You can charge away fans less. Sorry.
Yeah.
The travelling fans on either of that reciprocal deal would pay the same amount. So if by doing that, Newcastle fans would charge Swansea fans £20, and Swansea would charge Newcastle fans £20. So that was the reciprocal deal. You can charge an away fan less than you charge your home fans, but you can never charge them more under the Premier League rules.
Ah, right.
Okay, Mo, I remember a few years ago you said something about the whole the giving out of or allocating of funds from Premier League to clubs, isn't it? You say that
there was just something about that where it was a Premier League initiative where they got the clubs to all chip in £200,000. It was a very strange arrangement because they basically said to clubs, put aside £200,000 and basically do something for your fans with it. But it was a Premier League initiative. A lot of people ended up thinking that the Premier League gave the clubs the money, but it was actually out of the club's bank account. And then Arsenal with that, they took £1.50 off every away game price and gave a £10 drinks voucher or something like that. But yeah, that was a very, very small gesture. 200k, that's not exactly neither here nor there for a club. One thing I just wanted to pose to you, let's just, for example, for 1 second, think there was £2.50 off every game. Akil just reminded me. But yeah, let me just say this to you. I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Pretend I'm not a football fan. Pretend I'm some 50-year-old woman. And I hear you guys talking about, the clubs make you pay this and the clubs make you pay that. What if I was to just say, well, if I wanted to go to the theatre, like if I said to you, I want to go to the theatre every weekend, but I can't afford it, it's an absolute joke, the theatre should lower the prices, I really want to go, blah, blah, blah. Wouldn't you just come to the conclusion that, well, tough, if you can't afford it, you just don't go, if you can't afford to go to the theatre every week, just don't flipping complain about it, just don't do it.
I don't disagree with that, but at the end of the day, football club, it doesn't reflect well on the other two revenue models or revenue segments that clubs generate if they're playing before an empty house. No one gives monkeys if the mousetrap is being played to an empty house. It will still be there the next day and probably to a full house. But it matters to the TV viewer in Singapore if the fans are singing or not, and if they're seeing empty seats like they do in Spain and in Italy, then it affects the revenue that the league can generate from its broadcast. Likewise from the commercial. So if we're talking about growing those revenues, then there needs to be a very, very careful protection of the consumer in this country.
Sure, but now we're kind of touching upon the subjects of supply and demand here, because we're talking about if we have empty stadiums, if people don't buy the tickets. But the fact is, and I am just playing devil's advocate, please do not get me confused that I want to start fleecing fans. Definitely not. I think we have got the pricing structure wrong at Arsenal. But supply is less than the demand at Arsenal right now. Every single away game is sold out. Just about every single home game is sold out.
What's the waiting list like?
Yeah, exactly. There's 20,000 people on the waiting list. I've been on the Red membership waiting list for the best part of a decade or something silly like that. And,
Do you mean silver?
No, Red. I'm on Red. I haven't got to silver yet.
Oh, I said sorry, yeah, I thought you meant you're waiting for a red. I was just going to point you to the right, to the website, mate.
Yeah, no, I can give my £25 a year direct debit note for that. So demand is huge at Arsenal. Let's not forget that. And it has been said, I can't remember who we were talking to, G. It was on one of the previous podcasts, and they said a senior Arsenal source has actually told them that if they wanted to charge £100 for each ticket in the stadium, they still would sell out.
Gunnar Gimli said that.
Well, there you go. And
but
there is that balance to be struck. I think the club are in.
Sorry, I seem to disagree with everything you say, Mo. But this is.
Oh no, listen. This isn't. Matt, as I said, I'm playing devil's advocate here. I'm literally just stating the fact.
What I'm going to say now is that's not the bulk of what Arsenal make. Arsenal's real concern, and this is where the real subsidy comes in. They've kept their match day revenues flat. Or look like keeping their revenues flat by improving the value they're getting out of the average match going fan. As far as I understand it, that the bulk of the revenues comes from the executive area, the executive tier, the boxes and the club level, and that's been a much harder sell in recent years than it has been previously. I think it's picking up again now, from what I understand anecdotally from people inside the club I've spoken to. They think that it's going to be. They're going to have a better year from executive tier in next season, and because they're going to market now with Arsenal at the top of the table, and that helps. At the end of the day, in the same way as those sponsors and brands who would associate their name with Arsenal, the people who want to who they're approaching for the executive boxes are people who want to see a premium product. And unfortunately, in the last 5-6 years, you can't say that's what's been delivered, and that has had an effect on the sales process, and therefore the revenues.
But do you know what Akil said, which is kind of very true, that the only loyal thing in football is a football fan. And there's enough football fans for them to actually extract more out of us, yet they don't. I'm not saying they've got it right. Could be a hell of a lot worse. They could really take the piss. But they are curtailing what I think they'd want to do in terms of charging more, so that they have to go back a little bit. And
it's right until it's wrong. And then when they go too far, they'll find there'll be an enormous cascade of people who just don't go to the well.
I think they have gone too far already. If I'm not playing devil's advocate, I think they have gone too far already. But I just think that, sometimes we should stop and think when we're complaining that we're not being forced to do this. And we have to look at the modern landscape of the game, and it is a business as well. It's a really tough balancing act, but I don't think us football fans are very objective in this whole debate.
I think that's the truest thing you've said. You're saying we're not forced, and I totally agree with you. Yeah. But there's something inside you. As a football fan, I feel I am forced. I feel, thinking about not going to a game. I was actually today. A few of my mates were booking Stoke away, and I was actually thinking, you know what, I might give this a miss. Just come back from Munich, or is it just before Munich? Whenever it bloody well is. But then suddenly I thought, nah. I'm going. It's just
that's the emotional connection.
Yeah, exactly. It's just that's football. That's what it does for you.
It's an emotional debate, not a logical one.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Cool. All right. Any more from that subject? I think we've chewed over all that, haven't we? I think we're done. Matt, I know that you have to shoot off to have your beauty sleep and whatnot and get ready for the rest of the week's festivities. So I'm going to
look this good if I didn't, Charles.
That's why you've got a face for podcasting. Anyway, Matt, it's been fantastic having you on, and thanks to Akil for getting you on tonight.
Love that man.
Absolutely, he's a great guy. We'd love to have you back on at a future date. I'm sure Mo would be, loving the thought of having you on Jousting again in the future. So
it's been a pleasure to talk to someone who clearly knows their football and knows what they're talking about. And it's been good to get a contrasting opinion. I've often said we all agree too much, so it's been absolutely great. I'd love to kind of really thrash it out properly. When we're not being recorded, to be honest with you, because I think it would be a very interesting conversation.
Just don't tell my wife, mate.
This is, by the way, this is Matt. I mean, Matt, just quick story before he goes, but he sat with me for the Everton game, was it about a month, 6 weeks ago, whenever it was. And, I think
you're not going to say what I think you are.
No. But for about an hour after the game, Matt and one of my mates, Ricky, who I'll probably get him to listen to this, as I mentioned him now, were debating, the Everton equaliser and what Kieran Gibbs did, if it was right or wrong, whether he turned him into, well, bloody hell, them two went on for about an hour. I mean, it was basically Matt against Mo, but Matt against Ricky in the Tollington Beer Garden. I think we left them to it in the end. I think I went for a curry and left them there, and they were still there when I came back.
Okay, well, let me guess. Seeing as me and Matt disagree on everything, I reckon Matt blamed Gibbs for it.
No, you're wrong. I didn't.
I don't think it was Gibbs' fault at all.
Where you agreed?
There we have it, folks.
Maybe we agree about the on the pitch stuff. Maybe just off the pitch everything.
But Matt, you definitely will be coming back on at some point in the future, not too distant, I hope.
Good luck. I look forward to hearing from you. Cheers, Giles.
All right, then. Cheers, mate. Take care.
All right.
Right, so that was Matt Scott, inside world football and talk sport correspondent. Okay, so let's move on now. We're all moneyed out, aren't we? We're all money programmed out. We've done all that, and let's move on to what football matters. And I want to discuss the Wenger versus Mourinho saga that seems to have come back into our stratosphere. It's been a long time since they've been jousting. At the beginning of the season, they seem to be all quite friendly and chummy, and there was a entente cordiale and whatnot. But now, recently, in the last week, we've seen, some barbs flying from Mourinho, saying that, Wenger, Arsenal seem to be getting the run of the fixtures. We're getting an easier fixture list, and then, Wenger complaining about Mourinho selling the way he sold Mata to Man United and so on and so forth. I want to ask you guys, I'm going to start with you, Mo. Is it good to see these two jousting again? Do any of them, in your unbiased, objective view, and I say that tongue-in-cheek, in your unbiased, objective view, who's got the upper hand in this? Who do you believe?
Honestly, I guess there's no point in me saying it, because I genuinely believe Wenger has kind of made him look a bit silly on this one, but, what else would I say? So, I don't think I come with much credibility on this because I'm an Arsenal fan, but I'll back up why I say that.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing that Wenger did when he complained about the Mata transfer, I don't think Wenger was right to do that. I think, it's absolutely fair game. If Mourinho wants to seek a competitive advantage by selling a player that he won't have to face, he's more entitled to do so. And whilst he's doing that, if he makes life harder for his rivals, I think that's good management, so fair play to him. But when he turned around and started saying, criticising Wenger when speaking to him about the person, and then Wenger took the high ground and said, look, I talk about facts and ideas, I don't talk about people. I just think that made, it just kind of showed Mourinho for who he is, because he turned around and said, Wenger likes to complain. At that stage, I think, this is like playground territory when it's like, Wenger tells tales and Wenger likes to complain. And then Wenger's, he is a hell of a lot more classy than Mourinho. I don't think even Chelsea fans can deny that. Wenger's never poked anyone in the eye. So I think he won that. So that's round one for Wenger, ding, ding. Round two. And then round two, Wenger's responded to Mourinho's comments about Arsenal always having the best fixture list. And, I mean, come on, I don't know. I can't say for sure just how photographic Mourinho's memory is, but can he really talk about the last 5 seasons and make such a generalised comment that we always get the rub of the green? And what I liked about Wenger's response is that he hasn't tried to talk about his opinion. He's just said, well, an independent company has done a study, and that independent company has said that Arsenal get less rest time. So there's opinion by Mourinho, and then we're calling it fact right now. But if we're going to be completely objective, I haven't seen the study.
Yeah.
Wenger didn't give a source. For all we know, Chelsea fans might say, Wenger's talking absolute rubbish. Well, we don't know that. Until we see that, we can't say it's fact. But if it is fact, and I don't think Wenger will come out and embarrass himself like that, if it is fact, well then, again, round two to Wenger. If he's proved Mourinho wrong, Mourinho might have an idea, but that idea was probably wrong if an independent company has done a study and proved that Arsenal had less rest time.
Right. Okay, Ax, I scoured the internet today looking for this independent source. Suffice to say, as Mo said, it was nowhere to be found. But, Wenger's not one to lie, is he? He's not one to make up. He's not one to fabricate stories and opinions just to make himself look good in front of the media, is he?
Arsene Wenger's always been keen on the stats. I mean, always, since he first came to the country. And we often hear about the red zone when players are in the red zone, and that's all stats. That's all people doing, reporting, people looking into how many minutes they've played, etc., etc. So no, I think there wasn't. It was by a sort of external company who done something on the whole league, as a whole rather than one particular club. But I mean, regardless, I think when it all started, it was firstly, Arsene Wenger was asked about the one Mata transfer, and Arsene Wenger then made it very clear. He said Chelsea have done no wrong. Chelsea don't make the rules. He was arguing about the actual rules, and that's not about one Mata. He has been saying this for years, that he doesn't believe there should be a transfer window in January. He's always said that. He's always said that when you go into the season, that is it. He even wanted the transfer window to close before the season starts, because he thinks that would be the most fairest thing. But obviously, with sort of different start times across Europe, that would be a little bit difficult. But so that's before one Mata. That's before any of this even started. I don't think the headlines done him very well. I think the headlines were, Wenger blasts Chelsea, Wenger does this to Mourinho, which I think was very unfair. At the same time, I mean, obviously, being an Arsenal fan, I watch the Wenger press conferences with great interest, not so much Mourinho. So I'm not sure how the question was put to Mourinho, but what I know from the Wenger side is he was not critical of Chelsea Football Club one bit or Mourinho. He was critical of the whole process, but Mourinho got personal. His response was calling Wenger that Wenger always moans. Always, I think his exact words. So it was Jose Mourinho that actually started just to get a little bit personal. But for me, that's not a bad thing. For me, that shows me Mourinho thinks Arsenal are a threat. That means, in my opinion, we're in a title race. For years and years, Alex Ferguson and Arsene Wenger were at each other's throats. Suddenly, they were best pals. Is that because Fergie didn't think Arsenal were a threat? Well, you know, we've been talking about the financial side for the last hour, so we sort of know that. Yeah, perhaps we weren't. But I think we are now, and I think Mourinho knows that as well. Who's got the upper hand? I think, you know, I would say Wenger in the last couple of press conferences, but Arsene Wenger has never beaten Mourinho. So until he does that, you know, the upper hand will always be with Mourinho. So I think that game at the Bridge, I think it's in March time, that's going to be massive. I think if Arsenal can win that, I think that will have a massive impact on Chelsea and Mourinho. So I think it's all to that now. I think we'll sort of see it quieten down a little bit now between them. But you know, for me, it's actually been great. I think I was listening to the BBC yesterday, and I think it might have been John Hartson who was just saying that he thinks they're being a bit silly. For me, that's not silly. You know, they're both defending their football clubs. They're trying to get a bit of a mental. They're trying to. I wouldn't say it's mind games, but they're just trying to get a bit of an advantage. And fair play to them, you know, that's how you win games, that's how you win leagues, you know. Sir Alex, I mean, Liverpool a couple of years ago could have won the league, but I mean, Fergie got right under Rafa Benitez's skin until he cracked. So, well, exactly, so that's perhaps what Mourinho's trying to do, I don't know, but I mean, for me it's great, and I don't think Wenger's done much wrong.
I just want to say, sorry, you touched on some very good points there, Ax. First thing I'd like to say is, don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. You know, as you said, Wenger only answered the question that was posed to him. He didn't complain about Chelsea per se. It was about the rules. And secondly, I've noticed in the last few weeks, I think Mourinho had a go at, he tried to get under Pellegrini's skin recently, didn't he? Or Man City's skin by saying, you know, they're the favourites, you know, blah, 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 with all their firepower and money and whatnot. If they don't win, it'll be a travesty for them. And now he's turned his sights on Arsenal. So I think he's trying to, it's some sort of reverse psychology where he's the one feeding the pressure, and he's trying to transmit that pressure off onto his rivals.
I agree, and about the Mata deal as well. I think FFP might have something to do with it as well. You know, Chelsea are sort of thinking about that, and so I think it was, you know, he's trying to deflect the attention. I mean, Chelsea fans, make no mistake, they Juan Mata was a popular player. He was their player of the year, and I've got a few pals who follow Chelsea home and away who are quite upset with Mata going. You know, they trust Jose, absolutely, but they were upset, and I think Mourinho had to deflect the attention a little bit, and he's done that well. And he's done that quite a bit recently as well. You know, when they've had a few dodgy results away from home, he's always deflected, you know, the attention. I mean, West Brom, was it at home when Ramirez dived for the penalty? Mourinho didn't focus on that. He focused on the West Brom second goal, which he thought was a foul on Ivanovic, which he was talking absolute nonsense. But you know, suddenly that was the line, that was the story. People forgot about the dive. So, you know, Mourinho's not daft. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, I just think with Wenger's experience of the English game, he knows what the media are all about. When he was asked that question, I personally think he shouldn't have said what he said, because of course it's going to be made into a story, and of course it's going to be putting the media in a negative light. I think he should have avoided it. You know, it's not his business. He shouldn't have answered it, in my opinion, in the context of Juan Mata. It should have been a case of just talk about the January transfer window, not make it personal to any player. But what I would say, this wouldn't have happened. Say, for example, United sold Tom Cleverley, and they sold him to a team that they already played twice. No one would be talking about it. No one would care, because Tom Cleverley's crap. Juan Mata is a very, very good player. And I do think that it does indicate that Man U and Chelsea are both winners in this situation, and the rivals of the clubs are the losers in this situation. And the reason it's very rare for both clubs within transaction to be both winners. But because Mata wasn't playing for them anyway, and as you say, financial fair play comes into it, it was a victory for Chelsea. And because United are so damn crap and they've got money to spend and they managed to spend it for someone who I would say is a world-class player, they were the victors as well. And, you know, I think if Wenger, say for example, you know, it was cleverly, I don't think Wenger would care. I don't think he'd talk about it because it wouldn't be an issue. But I think it's credit to Juan Mata, who's a very, very good player, and that's why it's caused a bit of a stir.
I think if it was cleverly as well, I don't think the press would have asked him anyway. I think it's because it's Juan Mata. You're right. I mean, it's a story because it's Juan Mata. But I mean, Arsene Wenger, that's one thing. I mean, I you know, sort of did a little bit of work with newspapers a couple of years ago, and that every single journo I spoke to that covered Arsenal always said Arsene Wenger is one of the only managers they know that tries to answer every question. You know, yeah, apart from transfers, you know, which obviously is probably the right way to do it. He always tries to talk about, you know, I know so Mata was a transfer, but you know what I mean. If Arsenal were linked with the player, we'll never go into it. So he's always answered questions. I think that's something that is quite good about him. I was just a person, I was lucky enough to go to an Arsene Wenger press conference once, and it was absolutely fascinating. And for that reason, that any question that was thrown at him, he answered it. He answered it quite well. So, yeah. You know, but I mean, I do agree with you. I do think he tried to deflect it away from Mata because he said it wasn't Chelsea's fault. You know, Chelsea don't make the rules, but I mean that sort of maybe wasn't reported. So
yeah, you make a good point. I just think that, you know, I'm not saying don't answer the question, but do it in a maybe more of a diplomatic, tactful manner where it's not then going to be personal to anyone. But you know, English media are flipping amazing at what they do. They know what they're doing.
They know how to steal papers, don't they?
And I think also after that, I mean, we've had Carl Jenkinson come out and say, you know, Arsene Wenger knows what it's like to be in a title running and stuff. So it seems like as part of the bigger picture, I think the players are seeing that our manager's sort of back. He's back fighting. He's fighting Mourinho. He's fighting Pellegrini, etc. You know, and I think Bakary Sagna today, the Standard had a piece about, you know, we won't let him down. We don't want to let him down. You know, it's been our fault sometimes. We've let him down. We don't want to do that. So I think it in a way, you know, things like that do bring the club more together. They're more willing to fight, like they have done for probably the whole of 2013, to be fair. But
yeah, potentially.
You know, so I think it's great. You know, this is the feeling I've wanted. I feel like I'm in a title race together. This is something I've wished for the last, you know, 6-7 years. So for me, bring it on.
Absolutely, I agree with both your points there, especially yourselves, Axe. Okay, let's move on to Tuesday's game then. We'll just cover it briefly. We've got Southampton away. Southampton have been in the papers, in the news for the wrong reasons, and I feel that ever since they came to Emirates and lost 2-0, they've kind of been on a bit of a choppy road, haven't they? A bit of a bumpy road. They're not really, you know, up until they came to the Emirates, they were up there. I think they were in the top 4. They had one of the best defensive records, but now, you know, as Valdo's been suspended or banned internally for kissing Jose Fonte on his forehead or something like that, I don't know. You know, and all sorts, and I think one of Nicola Cortese's left recently, and the one of the Lever family have taken over, and it just seems a bit kind of which really isn't in keeping with Southampton. I wonder how that's going to transmit onto the football field. Mo, what are you expecting for tomorrow's game?
I do think that it's a very good point what you've made. What happens up in the boardroom, what happens up in kind of, you know, the upper echelons of the club, for some reason it does affect what happens on the pitch. It shouldn't. You think they should be separate, but it does. And I don't think they're in the best place right now in terms of their form, in terms of, you know, taking to the pitch and grinding out results. We are in good form. We're doing well. We've had a good break. We didn't put a complete full-strength team out against Coventry in the Cup, so I think there will be a bit of rotation. We've got good players coming back, Ramsey and Arteta. I expect us to get the win there, but it's crucial that we get the win there. You know, with our February fixtures coming up, we really, really need to make sure that we win all the game prior to that run to go into that with utmost confidence. So, yeah, I think we're in a good place, and I think Southampton aren't in the best place, and I hope that the way that will manifest itself is 3 points to the Arsenal.
Right, Axe, you know, I've been looking over the Southampton's recent form. They got a 1-0 victory at home to West Brom in the 11th of Jan, and they followed that with a 2-2 away to Sunderland. They beat Yeovil last weekend in the FA Cup, but they lost 3-0 at home to Chelsea in the Premier League. Do you expect us to go over there and beat them quite handsomely in the end, or do you think it'll be a tough game?
I think every game's something tough. Maybe that's sort of a manager's answer. I feel like I'm doing a press conference. I mean, Southampton did impress me when they came to our gaff. I mean, I thought they were brilliant. That goalkeeping howler actually really helped us, because I remember on the day, I think first half, Jay Rodriguez really impressed me. He was bright that first half. I think it's probably the size of their squad that hasn't helped. They've relied on Lallana, Rodriguez, Lambert, etc. So obviously they can't keep going all season. So yeah, they've sort of had a dip, but I mean, I think everyone expected them to have a dip. I think as long as we're professional, we start well, a bit how we did against Villa, but maybe not the last 15 minutes, because that was bloody scary. So I think we'll be okay. I think we'll win, but I don't think complacency will get in the way. I think, as Mo mentioned, the players coming back are key. Someone like Aaron Ramsey to come back, and when he got injured, he must have been very disappointed, thinking, I hope when I come back we're still in a good position, which we are. I think Thomas Vermaelen back, Mikel Arteta back, a fit Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain going back to Southampton. So I think it's certainly, it's not going to be an easy game. I thought last year we went to Southampton on New Year's Day, we drew 1-1, and I thought that was one of our worst performances of the season, because I think it was an own goal that got us back into the game. I think complacency won't come into it, because we've had our last 2 games against them have been tough. But yeah, we're playing well. They're not playing as well. But anything can happen. So let's just start the game well and get the first goal, and then see how it goes, and hopefully come back with the 3 points.
Cool. All right. On the back of that, Mo, give us your scoreline. So your prediction. The first score and your scoreline.
2-0 Giroud.
2-0 Giroud. Axe.
I will go 3-0 Arsenal. My first goal scorer will be Santi Cazorla.
Santi Cazorla. Okay, that's 3-0. Santi. Alright, I'm going to go 3-1 Arsenal. I'm going to say... I'm going to go with Will. Is Wiltshire out? He's out, isn't he? He's a doubt, isn't he?
Out, yeah.
Alright. I'm going to go 3-1 Arsenal, and I'm going to say Giroud.
Cool.
Also, just a quick mention, Arsenal under 21s have just beaten Chelsea a little while ago. So they're in like the semi-finals of the Premier League Cup or something. Under 21.
Right,
yeah, and always nice.
Good. And just speaking about under 21s, what about Gideon Zelalem?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he's now 17. He can drive now, can't he?
That reminded me, I came up with a brilliant chant. It was a moment of inspiration. I was in the stands and came up with a brilliant chant. I'll just go for it. I'll just do it. It goes, oh yeah. It's got to be done. I can't even remember what song that is. Because you know what? The Bergkamp Wonderland podcast, they've come up with So I think what we need to do, we need to come together, Bergkamp Wonderland podcast and the Arsenal Fan TV podcast. We need to get a little YouTube video, and we need to get both of them on there, both of these chants, and we need to let the Gooner family vote. What's it going to be? What is the LLM chant going to be? Is it going to be or is it going to be oh yeah?
I'll tell you what, I struggle to sing that now after about 7 Jacket Cokes. There's no way I'm going to be saying something totally different.
I just love the thought of 60,000 fans doing that chant. That would be brilliant.
Can somebody hit us up on Twitter and give us the name, the original artist and the original song that we're singing? Because I can't remember. I know it's a reggae song, but I can't remember who the hell it is.
Do you know what? I've got a really, really bad feeling it might be Peter Andre, and I'll be gutted if it is.
Is it Peter Andre?
No. I really hope it's not.
Oh, I'm having no part of that. I'm not.
Too late.
On that note.
Right, cool. Okay, so that's that. Mo, obviously, this is your section, the Man United saga, Man United soap opera. What you got to say?
Well, okay, do you know what? This is probably Man United's finest week of the season, and they haven't kicked a bloody ball. That's how crap they've been. But yeah, look, the sign run matter. They finally spent some money. Well done to them. But there's all these rumours about Rooney going to get £300,000 a week, or he wants to leave. There's rumours about Van Persie wanting to leave. You know, they're still a club in shambles. They might have bought one decent player, but they're still a club in absolute shambles. And has Moyes ever really managed a player of Mata's talents before? Because he's come to United now, and he hasn't exactly got the best out of Van Persie. He's been injured, albeit. He hasn't. I mean, Rooney's been all right, but he's managed him before, so existing relationship. I wonder what he's going to do with a real flair player like Mata. I wonder whether he's going to get him into his style of play. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Mata's going to go there and be brilliant. I think he may well be asked to play a role that he might not be used to. And let's face it, he's in a crap midfield. He's used to playing with better players than what he's going to be playing at Man United. So, you know, that front three looks scary, Rooney, Van Persie and Mata. But apart from that, I still don't think the midfield is very good.
Cool. All right, Axe, you want to add any last thoughts to this, or...?
No, not really.
Good. Right, that's Mo's section done then. Yeah. Right, so quickly now, let's wrap it up by doing the 40-second rant. Axe, you're up first. Your 40 seconds starts.
Wait. Oh, crap. Okay, yeah, got one.
Yeah, your 40 seconds starts now.
I think, well, my rant must be about my mate Jose Mourinho. I've sort of already started part one of it earlier in the pod, but I mean, you know, he talks about our easy fixtures, our very easy fixtures. He clearly didn't see us play Everton on a 4 o'clock, where did we go to? Was it Dortmund? No, Naples. They went to Naples, and then we had Man City, 12:45. He clearly hasn't been watching that, you know. And the fact that Arsenal get the easy fixtures, not sure about that. He mentioned 5 years, the last 5 years. Well, no wonder he didn't do very well at Real Madrid if he was bothered watching Arsenal's fixtures.
Great stuff.
That was a bit shit, wasn't it? You threw that on me.
Mo, you're up next. Your 40 seconds starts now.
Alright, well look, my rant of the week is the fact that we haven't signed a player, we haven't signed a striker. I just, you know, I'm getting to that stage where I'm just really, really worried at the fact that 4 days left of the transfer window, we haven't done anything, nothing even looks close. I know that Arsenal can spring a surprise every now and then, and there's no kind of stories about something and it just happens. I know there's Draxler, but he's not a striker for me. I just want us to get a decent loan option or a Berbatov or something, just sort it out. I really am getting very concerned now, and yeah, that's my rant of the week. Sort it out, Arsenal, please. We've got time to win here.
Great stuff. All right, I'm going to come in for once, a rarity, because we haven't got anybody else to come in. So I'm going to do a 40-second rant, starting about now. My 40-second rant is going to be simply about Man United. What a joke! Wayne Rooney, captain, 300 grand a week, flipping, and he gets the final say in transfers. I bet Robbie and Van Persie is really happy about that. You know what I mean? You know, it's a joke. David Moyes. I mean, I had a lot more respect for him than I do now. I mean, every week my respect seems to be ebbing away for the guy. I mean, all the credit he built up at Everton seems to be, you know, just wittering away with every news article that comes out. It's a joke. Ferguson wanted to get rid of Rooney because Rooney had a temerity to knock on his door and say, I want a bigger say in what's going on in Man United. I think Moyes should take a leaf out of his Glaswegian brethren. And that's my 40-second rant over and done. Right, great stuff. All right, so it's been another extensive podcast. We always try and keep it under an hour. I'm sure it's gone way over an hour, but I hope we haven't bored our listeners this week. I want to thank again Matt Scott coming on and having a little joust with Mo. That was great. Thanks to Akil for bringing him in. Ax, you're off to the Southampton game tomorrow night, aren't you?
Yep. Looking forward to it.
Good stuff. And Mo, you'll be going to the Saturday's game, will you? With Crystal Palace?
Unfortunately not, because I'm out of the country. I've had to book a holiday. Well, I'll say I had to book a holiday, but so my ticket is going spare. I actually need to sort that out. I want to make sure that a passionate Arsenal fan that's going to sing will go to the game.
I tell you what, you'll do really well to sell that because the game's on Sunday.
Oh, I might take it then. Because if it was a Saturday, I wouldn't have been able to do it. But Sunday, I might be able to do it. So,
let me know.
See. Cool, we'll do. All right, so that's been a Gooner Ramble, an Arsenal Fan TV podcast. Ax, you want to say your good nights?
Good night, and up the Arsenal.
Good. And Mo?
I hate Tottenham.
Great stuff. And that's been the Gooner Ramble with me as host, Giles, alongside Akil and Mo. Thank you, and good night.